You're listening to The Secret Society of Western Big Game Hunting with Dan Adler.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Speakeasy, Prescott, Arizona. So glad to have you all here today. I have an amazing guest, somebody who's become a mentor and a personal friend to me just in the last year, but a lot of you already know him. Some of you may not, and he is absolutely fascinating. Whether you're driving a car, in an airplane, work around the house, in a tree stand, whatever you're doing, I really want you to lean into this episode. I've got a really special guest who you're really going to enjoy. Bart Miller is a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, a fitness expert, and the founder of I Do Epic, an accountability and high-level coaching mastermind that you seriously don't want to miss. Find a way to get there. He and his wife's I Do Epic retreats take place in beautiful locations like Ohio, pulling entrepreneurs out of boardrooms and putting them into the outdoors. Wherever you are in your journey, I Do Epic is very likely for you. Bart has a deep background in the outdoor industry. He's a hardcore Western hunter. He killed a public land Idaho mule deer buck that graced multiple magazine covers and will certainly be something we talk about a lot today. Bart Miller, welcome to the Speakeasy. How are you doing this morning?
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm going to have you intro me everywhere. That was so amazing. I feel like my head's this big now. I can't fit in this cowboy hat, but thank you for that wonderful introduction. And Dan, you've been the same to me. An amazing mentor, amazing human, an amazing family man. So kudos to you, and thank you for having me on the podcast.
It's my absolute pleasure. It's my absolute honor. We're going to connect a lot about a few things today. The business relationship to how you're successful in business and how that translates to people who come to I Do Epic, who come to and how you find your time in the outdoors, where you find your peace in the outdoors, but also that transformation you get to see people go through. So I want to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship today, a lot about transformation for the people that you bring into your lives. Your event's coming up here by the time this airs. It's either going to be going on or will have just taken place. So I want to make sure you get a really good plug-in for next year when we wrap this thing up and talk a lot about where we're going for next year. I think your I Do Epic is revolutionary. Like, there's masterminds all over the country, there's masterminds all over the world, but I really like the approach you've done. You take 8-figure entrepreneurs or people on that path, and you really work on accountability. In my world, there are people, not all, there are people who, when they pay for something large, high ticket elk hunt, high ticket sheep hunt, high ticket mastermind class, some people's brains go to an entitlement perspective. Mm-hmm. I would say boldly, you and I don't do entitlement well. We do accountability well. Will you talk a little bit about the difference and how you see entitlement versus accountability, and how does that play out in I Do Epic and also in the hunting woods?
Yeah. So, what's interesting is that my life was built on accountability, and how I started the accountability calls was really selfishly. So if you don't mind, I'm going to kind of be a little selfish for a second, but what happened in my life was I was raised on a ranch. And what's funny about being raised on a ranch is the cows don't care if it's your birthday. The cows and the horses don't care if it's Christmas. They don't care. What they care about is that they're taken care of every single day. And so what happened to me is from a very young age, I learned that I was going to get up and do that no matter what was happening. Even if I was sick, and I had a wonderful father, let me tell you, but he was tough. And I mean, it didn't matter if you had a cold. It didn't matter if we can use COVID at this day. Those cows are going to be fed and your butt was going to be out there. There was no excuse to do that. And so about a few years ago, I was out feeding my cows and my horses. And I thought, you know what? Can I give back to the world by teaching this principle and just have an accountability call every single day that I personally, no matter what I'm making, no matter how much, I'm going to show up and I'm going to be there and be on these calls. So I did that, and it's really blessed a lot of people's lives. But in the hunting world, what I found was that there's people when we're setting up hunts that count on you. And the animals, right, they count on you being able to actually do your job. So for me, I take it really serious in the hunting world because I think it's exactly principles that I teach is if you're going to go on a hunt, why not do it at the very highest level you possibly can? Which means, why am I not getting in shape to where if I need to hike to that top of that mountain, I can do it and not feel like I'm going to die, right, when I get there?
Yes.
Secondly, can I prepare myself? Can I organize myself well enough to have the materials that I need to? So when I get there, I'm not looking at my guide saying, hey, I forgot my shells. As crazy as that sounds, right?
Yep.
Third principle for me in the hunting world that was really serious for me is can I actually shoot at the level I need to? Am I putting the reps in so that when the opportunity presents itself, I'm ready? And I have a crazy story about that. But my
Yes,
point
please.
is that I had to, when I was going to do a hunt, I had the respect, in my opinion, for the animal to put the reps in. And I think a lot of times when we take this for granted, and the other half of it is, I'm just going to do it because I'm entitled, we lose the essence of the real hunt, the essence of why we're there, the animal's respect, the few things like that, because we're just taking it as, hey, let's go and just hang out and have fun. Now, there's a fun part about it. Let me be clear. The journey should be a ton of fun. But to me, it's just the difference in entitlement is I expect it, and I expect my guide to be this way. I expect all these things to be done, where I'm like, I don't expect anything but from me.
That's
I am
beautiful.
the one that's there.
You talked about expect,
Yeah.
and I talk about intention all the
Okay.
time in hunting.
Nice.
And one of the things I even work with my almost 20-year-old son on is what you program into your brain matters. Intention matters. And when you say words like you hope, your brain is finding a gap.
Okay.
Your brain is finding a gap and a need. Talk about intention versus where hope is not a strategy for you. And talk about a little bit too. You talked about range time and getting those reps. Talk a little bit too about the difference for the average Joe, whoever that is, who is like, I'm good. I practice at the range. I'm good out to 300 or 400 yards. But talk about the difference for you and your mindset in, okay, I've done A, B, and C at the range. But when I've got that bull elk at 300, 400 yards, I'm not at a range. I don't have a bench rest. It's going to be uncomfortable. There's going to be weather. There could be wind. I might be laying in the dirt. I might be trying to
Right.
find. Talk a little bit about choose to be successful versus hoping you're successful, intending to be successful versus wanting to be successful. And how does that play out for you at the range, for example?
Okay. Can I backtrack a little tiny and then get to the
Anything. This
range?
is your moment, brother.
Okay. So here's the thing with intention for me is that when I go on a hunt, I know I'm gonna win. And it's funny, and I don't mean this to be arrogant, but I have buddies that call me and are like, dude, you've got to hunt with me because every time you find something somewhere. And I'm like, it's because I do set my intention, and I do not look back. I know I am going to find what it is. But I will tell you on the preparation part, what I do is I go out and I spend a ton of time, as much time spotting as I do shooting. And the reason that the spotting, in my opinion, is where my win has always come is because I see animals where other people can't.
Mm,
I
keep
see
going.
animals where other people can't. Now, this is critical to me when I'm hunting because I've watched literally parties after party walk past game.
Yep.
I mean, big game because they didn't take the time to learn to be still, learn to look, learn to really look for differences, patterns. What's the difference in the pattern? What's happening here? What's in this environment? How does this animal work? They don't do any study on what's the difference in a mule deer's way they act versus the way an elk acts, for example,
Mhm.
right? Now, as a guide, let's be clear, your guide, if you have a guide with you, that's supposed to be, in a lot of ways, their job, right? So they've done that work. But for me, once again, if I'm going with a guide, I feel like that's a blessing. But that being said, I need to do the work myself. I can't blame the guide for not finding something that I wasn't willing to put the time into.
Yep.
So I do a lot of spotting, tons of it. And we just go out there and just look and see and da 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 da. Anyway, so that's number one. On the shooting end of things, which has been amazing, super blessing for me, is I've been around some amazing guys, rifles. My long range gun was actually built by Randy Brooks from Barnes Bullets, and he taught me so much in being able to just breathe. And so
Hmm.
when I'm shooting a lot, it came down to my breath work. He was always like, it's all about your breath, being able to be calm, be steady in any type of situation. Now, I don't have a military background. Okay. So for me, all that kind of stuff was new to me. And so, it's kind of a crazy story. And I wish I had the film to show it to you right now, but on this big buck you're talking about that I shot, we were out there hunting. We did not this day, honestly, the intention was literally to just go find what was out there. We were going to come back and then actually do the hunt. But we took everything just in case we did. We got out there, we were on the hunt, and the day had gone by, and it's too long of a story to tell, but we'd passed a lot of really nice bucks. And we got to a place where we decided to go look at some stuff. And there was down this hill was a bunch of bucks and a bunch of deer over on this side mountain. And the person we were with was not in the best of shape. So he stayed up here. We went down. We started looking at all these. All of a sudden we look up and the guy we were with, Shane Wooten, Shane, if you're listening to this, shout out to you. He literally was like, there it is. I mean, we didn't know that, but he's just bristling up and he's like, there's a buck right here. So we come up the hill. We have no idea what he's doing. And all of a sudden I had a spotting guy with me and he literally is like, oh my gosh, that's it. And I was like, I don't have my gun. My gun was right next to a rock. It leaned up. It was about 10 feet behind me. So I run back, grab the gun, put a shell in it. And I just thought about what I'd been taught in that moment of breathe. Just take that time, breathe. And I'm freehanding, like literally. The buck goes over. I whistle as loud as it can. He literally comes back. I'm freehanding, go across, steady, deep breath, boom, shoot. And honestly, drop like a rock. We're thought, oh my gosh. I mean, and I'm sitting here going, I mean, everything aligned, let me be clear. And there's a lot of blessings in that. But that breathing aspect of just knowing that one thing of calm the nervous system. Because when we're in those moments in any type of situation, business, all these things, we forget to just breathe.
Yeah.
It's all going to be okay. Be present. Boom. Walk through the steps. And then bam. Got up there, had a beautiful shot, killed him with one shot, and was able to have such a magnificent animal and full body mount and all that kind of fun stuff. But I just take it back to the time at the range isn't just firing the gun. It's going through and building your system, your accountability to your system of first, get it set. Second, breathe with the gun. Feel this piece of magnificent tool you have in your hands. Be aligned with it. Take your time, then fire your shot. So to me, it's about the system and the timing and the breathing part of it. I don't know.
Sounds like a lot of muscle memory goes into it for you, which is something I'm real big on.
Yes, sir.
Something you said that's interesting and always makes me smile when a guy like you that I think so highly of, and I have something else yet in common. Nick Hoffman was interviewing me on my own podcast. He wanted to turn the tables on me a couple weeks ago.
That's cool.
And one of the things he asked me, this is a big time mountain hunter. He hunts all over the world for his TV show. Great guy, great American, great champion of conservation all around the world. And he interviewed me and he asked a specific question about intention and about my expectation of the muscle memory and the prep and doing the work and how the guides in our culture and our company. And I gave him my answer to a question and he sat back in his chair and he got kind of animated about it, which I loved because it was authentic and it was real. And he's like, you're the largest hunting outfitter in the world. And everything you just said in that answer said nothing about killing the animal. I take exception to that as your client. I always want to kill the animal. Why? I'm asking you why didn't you say anything about killing the animal? And I said, well, I'm so glad, because my answer was, this question was to the effect of, what is the most important thing to you in every hunt, in every camp? And I didn't say killing an animal. I said that everybody has a 10 out of 10 experience on the mountain, loves our culture, loves what we stand for, loves the American flag in camp, and it's lit at night, and love what we do. And we provide that experience of a lifetime where you absolutely always want to come back. And that's where he kind of took exception. And he said, how do you, in the high profile, high visibility out there, you put yourself out there to be vulnerable. How can you say nothing about killing the animal? I said, because I was your client, I want you to say killing the animal is the most important thing. And I said, well, brother, I'm so glad you asked part two, because now here's the Paul Harvey. Now here's the rest of the story for the younger audience that doesn't know Paul Harvey.
Right.
I said, because I don't hope you're going to be successful. Yeah. The outcome to me is known. Yeah. We're going to be in position to harvest that animal. Amen. You're either going to kill that animal, miss that animal, wound that animal, but I'm going to control the controllables. And I know that's so big for you too, is, so hey, good. When you do I Do Epic, you can't control the weather. You can't control other people's attitudes. You can't show up, but you can control, hey, is the lodging the way we want it? Is our coaching and consulting prepared? Are we landing our message? You're so good about controlling the things you can control. How do you talk to people about letting go of the things they can't control when it comes to I Do Epic, your other consulting, because you're big on mindset. I'm huge on
Yeah.
mindset. And let me put it maybe in a different perspective. I know you talk about recoding identity. I think that's a quote I may have actually learned from you and Sonny. How do you help a guy shift his identity from weekend warrior or boardroom general, so to speak, to apex predator? Talk a little bit about that if you would.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, thank you for being who you are too. That's amazing. I love that. And so shifting identity is okay. In our coding, the number one thing we forget is we don't have to, who we are today is our personal reality, right? It's our reality of who we are. So what I teach is that Marilyn Monroe was still Norma Jean. Bo Jackson was still Jason. And a lot of people don't know that story, but Bo Jackson, he'll always say, I never played a football game in my life. I was Jason the entire time. And there's an entire story around that. And I could go on and on and on. Why do people create what I call a magnetic self or a different identity, right? It's because it allows you to shortcut the psyche and bring yourself into something else. So as a weekend warrior, as an entrepreneur, all these things, let's say that I want to step into this new identity of hunting, or I want to be the full out. I've got to literally create that persona. I literally step into a new identity and I assume that role while I'm out there. And I've done this multiple times in my life. And I do it it's a whole process I take people through, but I literally teach them how to create that new identity, step into that new identity, fulfill that identity, and then come back to their real life and be two different people. But it's still them. And so what happens in a lot of entrepreneurs, not to get on a side tangent from hunting, but is we go to work, we work hard, we're diligent, we do all of our things. When we come home, we're still in that mode.
Yeah.
We forget how to switch because as men, we literally have to have. So I teach my guys, you've got to have a briefcase. You've got to change your t-shirt. You've got to change your state when you walk in that door. That's the key. Like, there's a lot to it. But as soon as I take the glasses off and I walk in the house, I'm Bart, right? To the rodeo world, I'm the $1 billion cowboy. In the
Yep.
cycling world, I'm Goat Man. In
Okay.
all these different, I have different identities when I'm there. I have different ways that I show up. But when I walk in this house, I'm dad. I'm a
Yeah.
husband. And I got to step into that identity, reset who I am, because they don't care about this over here. They do, let me be clear, but they don't, right? And so for me to play full out in life, I had to learn how to compartmentalize who I was in those moments. So when I
I
go
think
out,
it's
go ahead,
go
please.
ahead. No, go. You're on a
So when I
roll.
go out on those moments and on those hunts and different things like that, I am a different character than I am when I'm at home. The way I act, the way I'm around things, the way I look at things, yeah, just all of it changes for me. And I've just learned that in my life that as men and women learn this little hack in their brain, man, where they can go is off the charts.
That is so powerful. And just for those of you listening right now or watching, if you're on our YouTube channel, I want to acknowledge something you're probably thinking right now because what Bart just said is so true and so factual. But I'm just going to say it to those of you that need to hear it. It's incredibly hard to shift your identity. You know, I've only in the last 3 or 4 years accepted in myself to be more vulnerable, more transparent, and more truthful about my true identity. And I remember times where I didn't know it was an identity shift, Bart, but I would experience it. For example, coming home from a 16-hour, 18-hour day in the Air Force, you know, covered in dirt and grime from the F-15 flight line. And, you know, it's hard to shut that off. And so when somebody you love and you're having a conversation with them shortly after walking the door, looks in the eye with a touch of heartbreak and says, am I talking to Dan right now or Captain Adler? Right.
Right.
And it's like, okay, what does that mean? Because at 20 something years old, for me at
Yeah.
that time, this is my entire identity. Dan Adler, the Air Force officer, is my identity. So for me, that first transformation in my 20s was when I left the military, something I never thought I would do. And
Yeah.
then when I did it, and I was like, well, I like that identity. Why don't I still
Yeah.
do that identity? Or here's the
Amen.
hard part: family and friends still see you in that identity, and when you step out of that, they respond to you differently. And
So
with a blessed few exceptions from grade school, and I'm truly thankful to God for them, Your friends shift as your identity shifts, and that's hard. And sometimes the people you're close to, I think Robert Kiyosaki talks about it, and you talk about it, the people around you, the family that shifts. But if you have big goals, I don't mean like big goals. I mean like so obscene that your friends are laughing at you type goals, like I now have. That does require transformation. That requires work. And that change is powerful, and it doesn't come easy because my mom looks at me like this. My wife, my kids know me as this. My sister knows me as this. My nephews know me as this. I've set a big goal. I've moved the football. And when I move that football, when I move those goalposts, how bad do I want it? And what kind of change do I get to make to myself in the world when I have it? So I love that you said that. When recently somebody asked me about identity and said, how do you want to be remembered 100 years from now in your gravestone? What's your epitaph? And I said, beloved, I think I said, beloved husband, father, brother, son, uncle. I think that was all of them. And he's like, you didn't say anything about hunting. Same guy that was talking about Nick interviewing me before. I'm like, I don't care about that. But 3 years ago, Bart, this whole time we've been talking, I'd be the puffed up outfitter guy who, right? But you know what? Now I'm just Dan. And we've got 600-700 hunters that want to be in the woods with me somewhere in the world every year. But even in those camps now, I'm Dan. I'll close with this because it's so relevant to something you've taught me. Actually, I think you were in Boise with me this year when I spoke about it.
Yep.
When I talk about the identity shift on my slides, even on the shows, a lot of the slides you guys on the audience have got to know me from my weekly podcast for Zero Outfitter Fees. There's a slide that has all my accolades. In the military, we called it the I love me wall, Bart. And the rodeo, I know there's something similar. You could talk about it. And it's decorations, awards, blah, blah, blah. But my next slide is a picture of me, my wife, and my kids here locally in town with a beautiful backdrop. I said, but really, this is who I am. Now, what people have taught me that are in your shoes have said that's beautiful, it's honest, it's candid. But here's the secret that is not a secret. I'm actually saying that to remind myself. So even though I've got this big persona right now and it comes across vulnerable and it comes across transparent, which is how it's intended, I'm also reminding myself as I go into this 45-minute to hour presentation, but this is who I really am and this is what's important to me. So could you just hit on that again, kind of put a bow on that for people that are listening right now? They're like, well, I've been doing something for 5, 10, 30, 40 years, but whether it's hunting or something they're doing in business, and we're going to talk about our spouses in a minute, so don't go there just yet.
That's exactly where I was going.
No, I got a question for you that. So don't go there yet. But just walk somebody through who's on the edge of being okay with making a major identity shift and being comfortable, Bart, with the results that come from that, please.
Yeah, the number one thing you've got to do is when you're making this type of shift is you got to understand that you're not leaving who you are. That's a big deal because anytime we create a void, we have to fill it with something. We're not filling, we're expanding. So anytime I go through this with different people through this process is really let's sit down and let's architect what you loved about yourself here and how we can move that to here and change a few things that you struggled with at the same time. So, and I do it on a small increment. Now, I'm not a small, I go all in. Let me be very clear. Like if you know me, but I'll try to help people transform in small things. So I'm going to give you a really quick example. I was a semi-pro cyclist, and a lot of people don't know that, but I've done Leadville, I've done all the big races, and I loved that. That was a big part of my identity at one point in time. And my son, my oldest son, was with me on that identity. And then all of a sudden he came to me one day and he says, Dad, I don't want to ride bikes anymore. And I was like, but son, this is how we connect. He goes, Dad,
I feel that.
I want to be a bodybuilder. And I was like, son, I know nothing about bodybuilding. He goes, Dad, I need this. I said, son, I'll change my identity. I will become a bodybuilder with you. And I'm going to teach you the process of doing this. He goes, okay. I said, now, how do you think we should do this? He goes, well, Dad, you would go hire the best coach in the category. I said, okay, go find out who that is. He came back and he said, it's Ryan Benson. He's trained more physique pros than any other human there is. I said, okay, let's get him on the phone. See if he'll coach us. And he's like, Dad, I mean, that means we have to. I'm like, let's do this. So we did. I called Ryan up and he goes, I won't coach you unless you fly out here to California. Come and see me. Now, if you go look at my pictures, Dan, This kid
Hmm.
was a skinny, scrawny cyclist. I had a little tiny
Yep.
belly. I was a cyclist, let me be clear. So walked in that gym, and Ryan looked at my son and I sat down with Ryan, and this is what I do with all my coaches, right? And I said, look, Ryan, I will pay you whatever you want. But what I want is in 1 year from now, I want to walk on stage, walk off with a sword, because nobody does that, and I want to win my category. And I want you to look at me like I'm an animal. If my physique cannot do that, you have to be so bold with me. Don't sell me anything. Tell me the truth. He goes, okay, done. After this workout, I'll tell you. We do the workout, we get done. I'm in a gym, and I wish I had these photos here. I'm in the gym with all these pro bodybuilders, and my wife's with me, my daughters are with me, and my youngest son. And you can ask my daughters and my wife, there was eye candy everywhere. I mean, these
Sure.
guys were the pinnacle of human beings. Okay. So we do the workout, we get done. Ryan lines us all out and he goes, take your shirts off. You got all pose. And I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Game over.
No, no, thank you. Like, I mean, are you kidding me? Like, this is
Yeah.
ridiculous for me, right? And he gets to me, and the guys, they got around me, and they're like, "It's okay, it's okay." And I'm like, Dan, it's one time in my
I'm
life.
terrified right now hearing
I'm a
that.
pretty bold dude, and I'll do a lot of things, but I was scared. I mean,
Yeah.
here's my queen, looking at these men, and I'm there amongst them, and I'm gonna look horrible, right? I mean, honestly, I did not look great with my shirt off. So I pull my shirt off, I stand there, and my body is shaking. And I go through the things, I do all the stuff, I get done, and my nervous system was in full on freak out mode. Okay. Now,
Wow.
I can't even tell you how many times this has ever happened in my life. And it was full on freak out mode. So I get done with that. I walk over to Ryan, and to make this speed this story up, Ryan looks at me and says, Bart, we've got a deal. I can do this. So I got with my son, took him, and I said, my identity now is a bodybuilder. And from that day forward, I never got back on a bike. I changed everything. We
Wow.
sat down, we wrote all of our goals out. We looked at everything. I went and bought all the clothes that these guys bought. I got the shoes, I did everything. And we flew to California, and in 1 year, I won a sword, won my overall, the first show I ever did. And I did it in California, so don't think I just went to some small show. It was a legit show, went to nationals, and ended up fifth in nationals for 45 guys in my category. Now, I'm not saying that to brag. I'm telling you, though, there's a way that you have to transform yourself into this. But why did I do it? Is because my son needed
Yep.
me. My other son is into jazz music. I am not. You can tell my family's musicians. I'm not a jazz musician. Now I'm studying jazz. I'm in jazz. My identity has to shift into that with my children. Okay. So you don't want me to get into to our wives yet. But what I'm telling you as fathers, as dads, don't just look at business and shifting your identity there. Look at where you can shift your identity into something your kids are so passionate about that they can't stand it. And Dan doesn't know this, and this is going to maybe be a cool nugget for him. But my youngest son now wants to hunt.
Oh,
Like literally for my birthday, bought me a gun and said, Dad, I want to hunt. Now, he's never wanted to hunt up to this point in time. So guess what I'm going to do?
yeah.
I'm going to step
Transforming
into
in.
that and teach him how to create that identity. And Dan, I hope you'll help mentor him in that identity of what we're going to create for a legacy for me and my son. Because
I'd
see,
be honored.
that's a different thing, but I have to be
Yes.
willing to not just be the cowboy Bart that I was when I was raised. If I would have stayed that, I would have missed so many opportunities with my kids in my business of stepping into things that I knew I could do and execute the exact same way through accountability, through systems, through structure.
This is so fire that I'm genuinely concerned, but I'm okay with it that we may never get to your mule deer yet, but I'm totally
Oh,
okay if we don't because this is
okay.
so fire. And people have limiting beliefs, and sometimes these limiting beliefs can really hold them down. And you said something that I hope other people caught this, and I want you to talk about this. So
Okay.
you talked about how the first part of the conversation with your son about bodybuilding was, what do you think I would do if you were me? And he said, you'd probably go find the best coach. And that's exactly what you did. Now, some people that are listening, their limiting beliefs are something along the lines of, well, that might be nice just to go pick up the phone and find the best coach and hire the best coach. In the hunting world, Bart, maybe you've heard this before. There's this misnomer because the North American the the four North American wild sheep of North America, to hire someone to hunt the Dall sheep, the Rocky
Yeah.
Mountain bighorn, the
Yeah.
stone sheep, and the desert is incredibly expensive. And so there's this mindset that's around, you have to be really successful in business or in life to be a sheep hunter. Well, my good friend Greg Stubbe taught me, and millions of people, you're not successful because you're a sheep. You're how does it, make sure I get his quote right? You're not a sheep hunter because you're successful. You're successful because you're a sheep hunter. So the mindset of somebody
Identity.
that would go take on this task, the mindset of a Bart who looked into his son's eyes, whose son was probably scared to tell dad that he wants to fundamentally shift everything. But for those people that disconnected when your answer was, well, that must be nice that the $1 billion cowboy's in a position just to go hire
I
somebody.
love
Can you
this.
talk to that man or
Yeah,
that woman
absolutely.
listening and going, nope, you don't have to have the money to do this. You have to have the intent. You have to have the desire and the love for your kid to make that shift. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, yeah. So this is magic for you, and I hope if there's not one gold nugget, and at my events, just so you guys know, when somebody's speaking, we yell out gold nugget, and the reason we do that is the speaker keeps speaking, but it anchors to the psyche, and so I'm going to give you a gold nugget here for a moment for you guys, I hope. But what I found is this: most people have what's called a thermostat. So what happens is we reach the thermostat, and then what we do is we sabotage ourselves. And I'm not, this is a whole like little session in itself. But think about yourself right now. Anybody that's out there, where is your thermostat? Okay, so number one thing, thermostat. Now, how do we push the thermostat above and create the sabotage to go away for us? Okay, now this is what I want you to think about is if your thermostat, if I looked at Dan right now, so Dan, can I use you as an example?
Anytime, brother.
Okay, so I will use Dan as an example. So Dan, if I told you I need you to make $100 today, what would you say? Could you do that for me? I'm assuming you're
Yes, sir.
saying,
I can make $100 for you today.
yeah, you could make $100, right? So your thermostat on $100 is like, are you kidding me? That's nothing. I don't even feel that in my body. Now I say, Dan, I want you to make $1 million today for me. Can you do that? You're going to get a different ping in your body at that point in time and be
Yes,
like,
sir.
whoa, 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 let me sit with this because your thermostat of that number is so different from the Now that's extreme, right? So you're going, Bart, you're going way extreme. I'm doing it for a reason.
Sure.
So now I can start with Dan and go back down this category to where Dan's finally going to be like, I'm okay with 1,000. I don't feel the ping in my body. But when you hit this or you hit this, I all of a sudden start feeling the ping. So then what I'm going to tell Dan is, okay, Dan, then what we're going to do is we've got to push the rubber band. We got to push the thermostat, which means if you can't walk into Louis Vuitton, let's say I wanted to walk into Louis Vuitton and buy a certain item, you've got to walk in that store with certainty that I'm going to own that. You got to be able to walk up to the salesperson and say, I want to see, I want to hold this. I know I'm going to own this. Even though you don't have the capacity to buy it that day, when you anchor to your nervous system that I know this is mine and I will go in, I will be present, I will act as if, I will take action with this, all of a sudden you will find that bag is yours because the thermostat had to raise. But what most people do is they walk on the outside of Louis Vuitton and they go, I'm going to own that bag. Then they walk in the store. They're so scared. Their nervous system is so freaked out. I don't belong. I'm going to run out the door. And what I'm trying to say here is how you amp the thermostat up is, and I'm sorry I'm getting animated, but I am so passionate about this, is you literally have to get your nervous system under control by, okay, I'm going to walk on the glass. I'm going to look. But I know it. I'm going to see that purse and I'm going to say that's mine. Secondly, I'm going to walk in the store and when somebody approaches me, I'm going to act just like I need to act. Not because I'm faking it, because I know it. And as soon as you know it, the sheepdog hunt becomes the thing that you're going to do no matter what. And here's the thing that's so cool about it. You don't know that Dan isn't going to sponsor you in it. You don't know what the future has. You can't sit and say, I got to do it this way. You got to just say, I am going to own that. I am going to be this no matter what. And here's the cool part. There will always, and I can share a story with this, there's always somebody that will come in your life when you're that passionate and they will get you there.
Yep.
The mentor will show up. It's happened to me so many times. I'm going to give you just a 5-second example because I don't want to take too much time. My youngest son, I just told you, Xander, jazz fanatic, phenomenal player. Okay. He's like, Dad, I want to be the best of the best. I'm like, do you know what my model is? And he goes, I know where this guy lives. He actually lives in our
Mm.
backyard that is the world's best saxophone player. He's created the
No way.
Bible on the saxophone. I'm like, well, okay. So I said, well, what do you want to do about it? And he goes, I don't know. And I said, well, I do. So I reached out to this guy, long story short, set it up for Christmas as a Christmas gift to have his first lesson and to meet this person, right? We get in there, we're sitting in the lesson, we go through the lesson, and I won't tell you all the details. It's an amazing story though. But he gets there and I look at the gentleman and I say, Dr. Watkins, what would it take? Do you ever take a student like Xander on? And he goes, no, I don't.
Mm.
And I said, okay, well, I thought I'd ask because, you know, he really wants to be this. And at the end of the lesson, we're getting ready to walk out. And Dr. Watkins says, I feel like I need to take Xander on as a student.
Holy cow.
And I'd like to mentor him. Yeah. And I'm sitting there going,
My
but
gosh.
you don't do this in your career. No, but I feel like I need to do this. See, that is intention.
Yep.
I took action. I found the mentor. I hired the mentor, took him there, no expectations, but I knew what Xander wanted. Xander knew what Xander wanted. And now
Yep.
is being mentored by the best of the best.
So I have trigger terms when I hear somebody talk, even if it's in public where I just want to kind of grab them and shake them. I don't, obviously, but when you see that person standing outside of Louis Vuitton, I think it's Louis Vuitton,
Yeah.
in that story. And if you were to walk by a complete stranger, you're going to love this question because we think a lot alike on some of this stuff. And I'm learning so much from these are all gold nuggets. And ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to this podcast. He charges a lot of money for this. So I hope you're writing this stuff down. And it is gold and it is fire. And hopefully, even if you just pick up one thing from Bart today, it changes everything for you fundamentally that's worth your time. But I have trigger words. If I saw somebody standing outside of Louis Vuitton, but more importantly, probably if I saw my son or daughter say the word someday,
Yep.
or I wish, or I hope, that triggers me in a very, in my mind, violent way. Not physically violent, but my brain just wants to explode. 'Cause I'm like, BS.
Yeah.
Like, why are we conditioned to have such limiting beliefs about the future? How do people overcome those? And how do you walk into Louis Vuitton? How do you walk into an outfitter for a doll sheep hunt and say, I'm doing this? I may have to book it for 3 years from now or
Yep.
2 years from now, but I'm taking something that yesterday was completely unattainable, completely unaffordable. And talk a little bit too about that environment of all the naysayers. You can't afford a doll sheep hunt. You can't afford to go into Louis Vuitton. You can't afford that belt buckle. How do you put the noise to sleep and make sure you really get what's important to you?
Yeah. So number one thing I teach people is that exactly what you said. You got to take all the variables and you got to look at all your variables first. It's all mathematical and it's all a system. So I look at all the variables, number one. Okay. So what variable is limiting me from obtaining what I need to? Okay. So let's take the bodybuilding example. The variable for me to win at the level I wanted to win at was I had to be coached. I knew nothing about this category. Okay. So that was number one. So then I look and say, actions always speak louder than words.
Okay.
Actions always speak louder than words. Who is the coach that has repeatedly done this? Because that takes a variable out. If he's done it more than one time, the likeliness of me getting there and probability is higher. Okay, so when I'm looking for a coach or I'm looking for a mentor or I'm looking for something in any of this to get rid of a belief, I've got to have belief in somebody else, right? Because if I don't have the belief that I can do it because of my limiting belief, I've got to lean on somebody in their expertise to be able to do that, in my personal opinion, okay? So I teach them, first of all, let's get rid of all the variables just like you. I know they're going to shoot because I've got rid of all the variables to make this happen. Okay, so if I start to anchor that down, the belief all of a sudden changes in the human because they know without anything, the steps are laid out for them in the system to obtain the thing that they want to obtain. What most humans aren't willing to do though is, okay, I want to do this sheep hunt. It's going to cost me $300,000 to do this hunt. That is, I've never made $300,000 in my life, let alone do a sheep hunt. Okay,
Yep.
what is the first limiting belief that you have? Okay.
Can't
And
afford it or
most
whatever
people
it
will,
is. Yeah.
yeah, most people say it's money. It's not money. Okay. And so when I break that down in the human psyche and I get to that key thing, I say, what do we have and whose belief can I anchor you on? Is it a Napoleon Hill story? Is it this? Is it what is it that will help you break that? which unlocks this part. Then we do it in steps. It's just like walking towards that where we need to be. And as I break that down, that's how you break the belief. Because as soon
Okay.
as they start doing certain things, it instantly makes their mind go, this is obtainable. As soon as the mind says it's obtainable, it's obtainable.
Beautiful.
I don't know if that
Let's put,
helped.
yeah, no, that's fantastic. It's a gold nugget for sure. So let's take 3 or 4 minutes and put together all of your different backgrounds, all the different identities that you have now and that you've shifted from in the past. And let's share for a few minutes here how that all came together on this mule deer hunt. Because this is one of the top mule deer ever
You're
taken. We'll
picking the
put
perfect
pictures to
one.
it. Yeah, we'll put pictures to it in the show notes and things like that so everybody can see. It's one of the top free range public land bucks ever taken in the state of Idaho.
Yeah.
But I know there's some cool side stories. I know there's some successes and some failures on the way. You weren't the only person that knew about this deer, so you had a little bit of public land competition. But talk about all these different angles we've covered here in the last half hour, and share some successes and struggles along the way that came to the culmination of putting your hands on this deer.
You're so inspired because you have no idea what I'm going to go here, but you're inspired to ask this question. I'll tell you that right now. So whoever's listening, I had a best friend and I wanted to dedicate this podcast to him. His name was Brandon Scouten to me, Bill Scouten to a lot of other people out there. If you look him up, he struggled with a lot of things, a lot of mental health, a lot of family. Put it in perspective, he ran away when he was 10 years old from his family. Family couldn't find him for a month and a half as he lived in the wilderness by himself. Okay.
Wow.
So an incredible individual. But that being said, he struggled a lot and he always looked at me as a mentor. We were the exact same age, but we kind of played this we're brothers, but I was kind of a mentor in certain things to him and back and forth. So this mule deer to him was everything. And I wish we had more time to explain this story, but hunting was life to him, period.
Take as much time as you need, Bart.
Nothing for him in life meant more than hunting because the wilderness is what gave him the ability to live.
Wow.
This is how he lived. Okay. So in his life, there was one thing he always wanted to shoot, which was a big trophy. He was a mule deer fanatic. Okay. So I won't get into, like I said, I could spend so many hours and so many things I could break down here, but every time there was a hunt to put in on, Brandon would call me and say, Bart, put in on this hunt. One year, he says, put in with me. We didn't draw. It's the only year Bart Miller, and I'm not bragging, but my intention is like, I can draw anything. So like type of thing. So he's like, okay, he couldn't draw to save his life because his mental capacity of knowing that he could do it was not there. And I won't get into the whole psychic end of it. And I couldn't coach him through it. I didn't know what I know today, or God, I would have. But here's the deal. He calls me out of the blue one day and says, oh man, it's gonna be teary. He goes, Bart, I've held this hunt away from you. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you don't ever look at the regulations. You don't know the hunts I put you in. But there's one hunt that I covet. And I know I can't draw it. But I haven't wanted you to draw it.
Wow.
Because it means so much to me. He goes, would you put it on that hunt? And I said, yeah. And he goes, so help me God, if you draw it. But he wanted it for me so bad. But inside of himself, right? Selfishly, he'd put in on this, which I didn't know, every year. So I put in on the hunt. Papers came. He knew before I did. I drew the hunt. And if you look up on the state of Idaho, there's only like five tags in the area.
Yeah.
And I drew the hunt. And anyway, man, his health got where he couldn't make it. So I was all alone in the hunt. But it was something him and I had dreamed to do together. And it's happened. And anyway, gosh dang. But back to wrap it all up, his mental state of where he was at and what I could do, he was so excited. And he literally set everything up, mapped everything out, came over to my house, shot with me, did all the things so that I could go and do this hunt. And the hunt, I just knew I was going to shoot his buck. And I knew that he knew. And he told me, I need you to shoot this before I die.
No way.
Yeah. And I did. And it was one of those moments that I don't get to share ever publicly. Nobody, I mean, most people even know I've shot it, honestly. But to wrap everything up, he was able to break down himself selfishly inside and say, I want this so bad that I want it for somebody else before I pass away to have this experience. Now, the chances of me drawing that buck were, I mean, you can do the math. It was incomprehensible, and let alone to shoot the buck I shot. But the
Yeah.
reason I did was all based on him. That's why I wanted to dedicate this to him, is because hunting to me isn't just hunting. It's a place that we shared things that we'd never share together out in the woods.
Yeah.
It was a place where we dreamed together, a place where we could stumble and fall and laugh because we got nicked up. It wasn't just about shooting an animal. It was literally about this experience. And it brought us so close and me so close to me personally, right? And this experience. So anyway, I could expand more on it, but at the end of the day, what I'm trying to get across is his threshold of what he was capable of was capped. My thermostat, I knew without a doubt, if I put in on it, I could fulfill the dream. I knew I could do it. I knew everything was there. And how it all came together is an amazing story. But in that story are so many principles for all of you out there. The Dall sheep hunt is meant for you. If you truly want it, it will come. The mentor, the people, but you have to decide. You have to decide, am I ready for the call? Am I ready?
Wow.
And then you've got to step into that and don't look back. Don't look back. And
That's beautiful.
that's how I shot that big buck. There's a lot more to the story, and I'm open to any questions you want about him, but that's how it happened.
Well, I think the most powerful part of all that, and I was scratching my brain, if that's the right term, trying to think about it through 40 years of my own personal hunting, 40 plus years now, and 21 years of outfitting. Bart, I can think of, it's emotional for me too. A lot of people that got this animal or that animal, that was their legacy animal. At their funeral, their family talked about that animal, or at their or wake with that mount. But why I was racking my brain so hard is I think in all my life, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I think in all my life, that is the first time where someone's legacy animal was harvested by somebody else.
Yeah.
And that is powerful and it is beautiful. And say his name again. So we're dedicating this episode to him.
Yeah. But to me, he was Brandon. His dad was Bill, but to everybody, when he got older, he changed his name to Bill. So Bill Scouten or Brandon
Girl
Scouten.
Scout.
Yeah.
So what a beautiful story. What a beautiful legacy. Speaking of beautiful, this is a perfect time to shift the conversation a little bit. We're still thinking about him in our hearts.
Yeah.
But you and I have something else in common that I think is very rare. It's very risky. And most couples, husbands, wives, maybe can't or shouldn't do what you and I have done.
Yeah.
And I want to talk a little bit about that. When people ask me when did Diamond Outfitters really take off, it's when my wife Terry, we've been married 23 plus years and together over 27 years, more than half our life's been together. When she came full time to our business and hung up her physical therapy scrubs for the rest of her life, our business took off. And I call her, she may not even know this, my secret weapon. Um, you've done the same thing with Sunny. You two are such a dynamic power couple. You are so fun to watch in public. You are so genuine and so much in love. And Terry and I love watching everything you guys have done. And we feel equally blessed. But I want to talk about for you, as our wives, as a superpower, our secret weapon. And how have you made that work? Because some people are going to listen to this and be like, man, I do this job. My wife does this job. If we ever tried to combine forces and do something special, we'd fight, we'd get divorced, whatever. How did you overcome those limiting beliefs going into it? And what made you want to do that, to go into business with her? Was it from the beginning of your relationship? Did it come later? Talk a little bit about that. Because you guys have both done a lot of amazing things. I mean, you've got all the awards and decorations from Russell and all the different organizations out there in the world. Like, talk a little bit about that. How'd you become your secret, your superpower, your secret weapon?
Yeah. So first and foremost, big shout out to the Queen, Sunny. So,
Morning. Good to see you.
so how it started for me was, oh man, another tough story. So we've been married 32 years. We have 4 kids, amazing kids, and I'm not going to tell you it's all been easy. But the one thing that we really did to start off our relationship was we knew we wanted to be together forever. We knew that commitment was there, and so we arranged our relationship to where we were in a want relationship. Now, what I mean by that is a lot of times in relationship, I find that the woman is dependent upon the man for finances for these things. So for them to escape or be very transparent is difficult for them. Even though we don't intend it, it's difficult for them. And so from the very beginning, Sonny and I were counseled on always set this up to where write your divorce the same time you write your marriage. Now that sounds insane, right?
Wow.
Write your divorce
Wow.
the same time you write your marriage. So we wrote our divorce up when we right after we got married. Okay, now why? People are like, what are you thinking? Because I wanted Sonny to always know we were in a want relationship, not a want need relationship. As soon as the dynamic changes to where she needs me to exist, we're not a power couple. We are a couple.
Oh my gosh.
So when the man has to need, or either way, we will not be authentic in our truth. And that's human dynamics in business and everything that we do. Okay. So we wrote our divorce. Now that sounds crazy, and I get it. But that being said, from that day forward, Sonny could always exit the marriage, and I could always exit the marriage at any point in time and be whole. The funds were there. Everything was always, this is how we stay whole. That way, when you're angry or you're upset about something I'm doing, I get the authentic you because you don't have something over your head, that a fear of being authentic with me. That created a want relationship between the two of us.
Wow.
And we have a question we always ask each other when we get in a fight, which is, are we on the same team? Are we on the same team? Because if we're on the same team, we are fighting for the same thing, even though we don't agree.
But I'm picturing how that breaks the tension immediately.
Hunt. If
It's
she
it's
says,
like just hearing it, I'm like, that's freaking magic. Keep
yeah.
going. I mean,
And if
that's
she,
gold.
yeah, if she says, no, we're not on the same team, that is when Bart Miller has to be like, uh-oh, this is serious. Because then I'm fighting against my queen. That means it's real. I mean, real. That means a divorce could come out. We're not want right now. We are in this, right? So that question sets up the tone of what's next. Because if we're on the same team, it's like, okay, we're fighting over something that we're both trying to win at together. When we're not, we're in another. So I won't rant on this all day long. You can go back over there. I just wanted to show you. You're so beautiful. All right. So want, divorce, all that kind of stuff right up front. Okay. So want relationship has helped us a ton. How did we get into business together? Well, this old cowboy is not a really good employee. Okay. But I'm going to be very transparent with you. I was a D and C student. I barely got through school. Sunny was valedictorian type of girl. Like, she was so smart. And so when we started off, I was like, honey, I was in a need relationship. Let me be clear. Okay. I need you to help me in the things I want to do in life. And she goes, guess what? I need you because I'm opposite of you. And I was like, well, how do we do this together? So then we hired a mentor, and this mentor kind of blew us up a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. But one nugget we took was how to create offices. So we defined our exact offices and our roles. Now, when I step into Sunny's office, I literally know she's in charge. She asks for my opinions, she asks for all my things, and I could be so anti what she's gonna do, but she gets the bottom line, period. That's her office. No matter what decision's made, I have to respect it, and I go full in. Even if I don't believe it's right, I change my character, my dynamics, and I support it 1000%. Because if it fails, I don't care. Now you say, why don't you care? Because I know I'm going to fail in mine when she's going to support me.
Yep.
It's just timing. It's all going
Yep.
to happen. Okay. So I go all in. As soon as she makes a decision, I am all in on Sunny. Now, let's say, I'm not going to lie, man, guys, if you do this with your significant other, you're going to pull your hair out just like they are. But when you define those roles, the partnership becomes stronger and then you start to excel. But the other thing that we did is exactly what we talked about earlier in the podcast is when we take off this hat and we step through that door to our kids, we cannot and will not be the business partners.
Yep.
We're in a different phase of our life at that point. We have to step into that. So we have a way that we clear. We clear everything. We go about our lives. When things are brought up, it's not, this isn't the time. And we both know it. Boom,
Yep.
we move on and we have a beautiful relationship that way. But when we're in business, we're partners. When we're in marriage, we're in partnership. All the things are based on the same principles of if you want to exit the business, you're whole.
Yep.
If I want to exit the business, we're whole. But when we're in the business, these are our defined roles. These are our defined offices. This is how we work with each other, just like we would work in business. And this is how we go about it, period. So that's how we started that way. Now, if you want one of the gold nuggets in identity that's really fun for you as a couple, and I would challenge anybody that's listening to this podcast, if you've made it this far, thank you.
Right.
Secondly, here's a big challenge for you, is most of the time as couples, we grow together and then apart and together and apart. One of the biggest things I found is when couples will do something that neither one of them have experienced. So for example, let's say neither one of you have ever taken dance lessons together. And you go sign up for that together and change your identity that you're both dancers. Magic starts to happen because you're not trying to coach your wife on something like, I know how to shoot a gun. I know it doesn't cause anything. You don't know. So you're both laughing. You're both learning together. You both learn to connect in a way through a different identity that bonds you for life. So Sunny and I have done this several times in our lives. One is dance, one is pickleball, so on and so forth. But we find something we know nothing about. We go dive into it together to laugh together.
Yep.
And that's another real big thing in magic. And then just explore that. And that just helps us a ton. So I don't know if that's helpful for you, but
it is. It's really good. And another way I'm hearing you say that is something that I feel very fortunate with Terry and I tell her, I've told her, now I'm telling the world. I said when we got married, 2003, my heart was so full, and I was like, there is no way for the rest of my life that I could love somebody more than
amen.
I love you in this moment right now.
Amen.
And then my first son was born,
Amen.
and my wife did that for me. That's how I felt. And then my daughter was born, and I felt my wife did this for me. So now my heart's even fuller because I have these two magical human beings that my wife and I brought into existence. And on top of how amazing, beautiful my children are, on top of all that, Terry went through all that labor for me. Now, of course, she wanted it for herself too, but I feel like she did it for me. She did it for us. And then just recently celebrating our anniversary in Costa Rica, it's like I can't love her any more possibly in the world than I do in this moment. And I know a lot of people are listening going, gross or blah or whatever, or, and a lot of people are moving close further away. Like you said,
Yeah.
to come together, going apart, come together, go
Yep.
apart. And a lot of them are allowing that, taking them apart to dominate the conversation, to dominate their life. And I love how you talked about that. And I love how you put it in perspective of, are we on the same team? That
Yeah.
is because when you said that to me, it takes the negativity out of the conversation because there isn't a thing that my wife could come and she's not a yeller. We actually don't fight. It's kind of
Right.
weird. Like we
Yeah.
have many
We're the same.
disagreements,
Yeah.
but now I feel like if I ever heard her say, it's like that moment of, am I talking to Dan or Captain Adler right now? If I ever heard her or my children say, are we on the same team? My God, there's not an answer. There's never a time in my life where I would feel like I could tell them no. I don't
Amen.
care what we're fighting about. Are we on the same team? Oh, hell yeah. I
Yep.
will fight for you to my
Amen.
death.
Yep.
Period. Full stop. Right. That's really magical. This has
And I
been
love
a
that.
magical. Go ahead. Were you going to say something
I
more?
love that because your military background, right? Just to re-anchor this with your listeners is that, you may not think we should be in something, in a war, whatever it might be. But the thing I love about the military is no matter what you think, I'm all in. The decision
Yeah.
has been made. and I will protect those around me. And even if we lose, I fought 1000%. And I didn't sit there and say, nope, take a bullet. Nope, I don't care. No, we go all in. And that's what we got to do in our marriages and in our businesses and in our partnerships. Because when we're at
Yeah.
that level that we're on the same team, and Dan knows that authentically, he'll never have to question if I've got his back.
Yeah. That's powerful. Just fire episode today. A couple more things we'll wrap up. I know you've got
You're
timelines,
good.
deadlines coming up.
No worries.
You talked about your hunting background. You talked about some of the things off air that you and I are looking forward to doing together in the future.
Yeah.
When it comes to this new model of zero outfitter fees that we've introduced to your life here in the last couple of years, what makes it a no-brainer to you? What makes it something you think your friends and family that are either mildly interested, you mentioned your son, of course, either mildly or massively interested in? Why would you say this is a no-brainer for them? What have we done right that you'd want people to know with ZOF?
Man, I'm so grateful you asked this question. As you guys, I explained before, I'm not a guide. I'm not. I just, it's just not in me. Now, Brandon was a guide. Brandon wanted to get me on those hunts when all that, like he was the one driving me, and all the successes I've had have been driven because of your model, which I didn't even realize until I saw your model, right? All those things were things. So when that happened, when he passed away, I had to sit and look at myself and say, now my son wants to do this, but I'm not the guide. I'm not. So all these fears, all these anxieties, all these things come because he looks up his dad as the hero, right? Like, no, dad, you did this. You shot, no, 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 son, you don't understand. There's a lot of pieces that go into the puzzle here that you're not aware of, but I'm very, very aware of them. At the same time, I don't want to let him down. I want to be the superhero, right?
Yep.
When I came across your stuff, it was like, la. I mean, are you Brandon? Like all of a sudden, you're the
Wow.
savior that comes into my life in this way that was like, replace isn't the right word,
Right.
but accelerate to give me the way that I can share what I've experienced with my sons, with my friends now, and not have that stress that I would literally have inside of my body, and that anxiety. To have that gone was like, where have you been all my life? And thank you. So
Hmm.
for me, it's a no-brainer because you literally are saving me from so much stress and anxiety in my life that I'm beyond grateful and so honored to be able to work with a company like that because it's it's priceless for me. But that's why it's invaluable to me is it takes all the stresses. I can still do what I do and have the same outcomes that I've been looking for.
Wow. Thank you for that. That's beautiful. I want you to do something I think is going to be hard for you. I
Okay.
want you to be completely selfish right now. I want you to vigorously plug I Do Epic and all the places that the audience here today can follow you, whether it's social media, YouTube, like give us all the websites, give us everything. How do we follow Bart and Sonny? And how do we get involved with I Do Epic? Like, I'm just going to shut up and listen. Give us all the things. Be totally selfish, please.
All right. So the easiest way is to go to Bart, BART 360. So 360, bart360.com. All the links are there. All my social media, everything you want to find out is there. The other one is, I mean, and the rest of the links I will tell you will be on there. So if you're coming to my event, it's idoepiclive.com. It's a totally different event than you've ever been. We're anti-boardroom, where literally you come in, we use horses to talk about psychology. We spend a full day with animals teaching the psyche of a human being, all sorts of fun things. It's absolutely amazing. Sonny and I have a podcast. We've been very diligent on it, but we need to be better. And Dan, we want you and your wife to be on that. It would be amazing. And that's called weplayfullout.com. And the reason we have that is, we love to play full out. Everything we tackle, we go all in. So weplayfullout.com. And then idoepic.com is the accountability calls, different things to that nature that you can jump on. But selfishly for me, I'm just so grateful to help people. And I really, if you're looking for something, just reach out, whatever it is. Like I honestly, we're here to help you overcome these beliefs that you've had that you can't get to that doll sheep, that you can't get to these different places. And if I can help you in any way, shape, or form, it'd be an honor. And Dan, I'm so grateful for you, and you're doing the same thing in your communities. And I look up to you so much.
Well, it's massively mutual. And for those of you guys that don't know, his I Do Epic event this year is like 5 or 6 days away. And
Yeah.
how many people do you have coming to that?
We have about 60 people. So and you know this, Dan, I'm pretty picky on who I
Of
allow into
course.
the community. And so we had a lot of people wanting to come this year. But that being said, we have 60 people there. And it's going to be magical.
Well, I'm saying it in the light of, despite the fact
Yeah.
that you have 60 people coming to a multi-day
Yeah.
event that's going to change people's lives, you still penciled me in for an hour today, and in a schedule where both, I even offered, I was like, if we need to push this out to summer
Oh, you're
because
amazing.
both of our schedules are so crazy, you made it happen. I'll wrap with this. I love wrapping with this question. We both live pretty public, transparent lives. We've purposely put purposely put ourselves out there, right?
Yeah.
And so that makes us vulnerable. It makes us targets for the keyboard warriors or whatever you want to call it. And we don't care about either of that. What I do want to ask you is, what is one thing the world doesn't know about Bart Miller, the $1 billion cowboy? One thing the world doesn't know, but they should.
It's a great question. So, first thing that popped in my mind, I'll tell you, I speak Japanese. So a lot of people don't know that.
I
So
did not know
Cowboy
that.
speaks Japanese. Yeah, I do that. Did business over there. Number two is a lot of people don't know I was on a full ride dance scholarship while I was training horses. So that's another kind of trivial thing that I don't probably share as much. And I think the third thing would be that I ran away when I was 10 years old and was raised by my grandma. And where I started from to where I'm at is literally the principles that I teach today. I mean, we had a coal stove that heated the house in Idaho. No heat in the bedrooms. We had no forced air. We had a working outhouse. We had linoleum floors. And do you mind if I just wrap up with one quick story?
Please.
So to kind of put in perspective, a lot of people don't know this, but my grandfather always wanted a really nice Cadillac before he died. And he got that car. He'd only owned it for a week, and he was coming home, and he saw one of his calves out in the mire. And he went out and he got this calf, and he was dressed up nice, and he took that calf and put it in the back of that Cadillac and took it home and put it in front of that cold stove. And there's iodine stains when I was a kid on that, because that's where he warmed the calves up. And his best friend came over and said, "What in the heck, Louie? Why would you do that?" And he goes, "I've never forgotten Burton, who paid for that car. That cow has more right in that car than anybody on planet Earth." And to have mentors like that in my life, priceless.
Wow. Wow. That is just a magical way to close this episode of the Secret Society of Western Big Game Hunting. Bart Miller, follow him and Sonny are magical humans. If you don't already know the I Do Epic 2027 dates, if you know them now, shout them out. Otherwise, we'll put them in the show notes for the future. Terry and I, as you know, would be there if we had not already had something with our kids. We will not miss 2027. I'm saying it publicly. I'm saying it to you. Everybody, thank you for listening. Please follow, like us, subscribe, give us 5 stars, do all those things that I don't really know to describe, but they're important for podcasts to help us.
Subscribe to his channel right now.
There we go. Subscribe. Hey, wherever you are today, on the mountain, glassing somewhere in your truck, at work, God bless you. God bless America. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
The Secret Society of Western Big Game Hunting is brought to you by Zero Outfitter Fees and Diamond Outfitters. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.